Hi guys, it's Mrs. Powers here. Oh, my hair's going a little crazy. Sorry. Happy Valentine's Day today when I'm recording this. I hope you had a good Valentine's. You won't be watching this until Tuesday though, so happy Tuesday. I hope it's been a good week. Today you're going to hear about the classic tale of Robin Hood for history. We're doing lesson 62. I forgot again. Let me look at which pretest this will go with. It will go with pretest 21. Okay, so when we're done, we'll take a look at what those are. But lesson 62, let's listen. Before we get too far away from the lesson about Richard the Lionhearted, I want to write about Robin Hood. Why? Well, in most stories about Robin Hood, Richard the Lionhearted and his brother John are mentioned. So even though no one knows exactly when Robin Hood lived, it was probably right about this time in history. Though there are many versions of this story, I will do my best to summarize both the truth and the legends that exist about Robin Hood. Consider this lesson a light-hearted break from all the gory stuff we've been learning about in the Middle Ages. When you hear the name Robin Hood, what comes to your mind? Do you think of bows and arrows, Sherwood Forest, the characters like Maid Marian, Friar Tuck, or the evil sheriff of Nottingham? Well, I have found it very interesting to learn that most of our images of Robin Hood have evolved from fiction rather than fact. Do you know the difference between fact and fiction? Facts are pieces of information based on actual real things. Fiction is all make-believe or things imagined. Here are the facts. When it comes to the story of Robin Hood, there appears to be only one hard fact that supports that he existed at all. And here is that fact. In a cemetery in Yorkshire, England, there lies a tombstone that reads, "Here underneath this little stone lies Robert, Earl of Huntingdon. Never archer was as he so good, and people called him Robin Hood. Such outlaws as he and his men will England never see again." The word in brackets is mine for easier reading. From this tombstone, if indeed it's credible, we can conclude several things that support the modern image of Robin Hood. 1. He lived and died in England. 2. His real name was Robert. 3. He was the Earl of Huntingdon. 4. He was a good archer. 5. He was nicknamed Robin Hood. 6. He had a following of men. 7. Robin and his men were outlaws. And 8. He died in 1247. If you think about it, there really is a lot of information packed into the words on his tombstone. But what about the rest of the story? I don't know about you, but from my childhood, I remember Robin Hood and his merry men as good guys who stole from the rich to give to the poor. Supposedly, they lived in a hideout in Sherwood Forest and had numerous escapades against the sheriff of Nottingham. The ever-clever Robin Hood always wore green, married a beautiful girl named Marian, and had a best friend named Little John. Robin and his men were good guys defending their favorite king, Richard the Lionhearted, from his evil brother, King John. You probably have heard your own impression of him. Now, if you were to review the paragraph on the tombstone, would you see anything there to match my version of the story? No, not at all. So you have to ask yourself, from where did I get my picture of Robin Hood? Or from where did you get yours? I think it's safe to say that storytellers have greatly influenced us as well. For some reason, Robin Hood has appealed more to the imagination of storytellers, singers, and playwrights than to the writing of historians. So, what we are left with are stories, songs, and plays that, be they fact or fiction, burn images deep into our minds. And the way mankind works, it appears to me that every few generations, a storyteller adds a little something to the basic story to make it more interesting. Just for fun, let's examine a few of these known additions more closely and sift through the facts. So here's the fiction, the imagined part. The first known written account of Robin Hood is by William Langland in 1377. In a work called Piers Plowman, Langland makes a fleeting statement regarding the rhymes of Robin Hood. Historians believe the rhymes spoken of were the ballads or songs that were sung about Robin in his memory. You see, back then people learned and repeated things more by mouth than by writing them down. Putting poems to song made them easier to remember and made them more entertaining. But it may interest you to know that none of the early ballads of Robin said anything about him taking money from the rich to give to the poor, nor do they mention jolly Friar Tuck, Maid Marian, or Richard the Lionhearted. The early ballads do, however, mention Little John. It seems that Robin and Little John became acquainted through a playful fight with one another. In the end, they became dear friends and joined up together as outlaws with many other men. An outlaw is anyone who lives outside the law. Though legend portrays Robin and his men as good outlaws, we can't really be sure of this. Early ballads suggest Robin was fairly bloodthirsty and cut off the heads of his enemies, so he doesn't sound like a very good guy. If that was so, then where might the good reputation of Robin come from? Well, you have to consider the times in which Robin lived. The feudal system was breaking down as the rich got richer and the poor were getting poorer. There was a lot of corruption in the upper class. It seems that Robin's enemies were only those who were unjust, unfair, and overtaxing the poor. In particular, King John, who became the King of England after Richard the Lionhearted died, was severely overtaxing the peasants in England. So, when Robin was out cutting off heads, he was supposedly doing so to defend his fellow countrymen, or so the legend goes. Now, let me explain the part about Sherwood Forest. You see, a forest in medieval England was the name of any land, not just an area with trees, that was designated by the king or wealthy nobles as their own private property. So why was Robin living there in a hideout? It could be that he was hiding there because he wasn't allowed there, and the reason he would want to be in the forest would be because the land was full of animals to hunt. Remember, the rich were selfish with their resources. They wanted to keep the common people away from their hunting grounds by making it illegal to be there. Robin, like his other outlaws, may have just been trying to survive. There's really nothing romantic about that. Speaking of romance, as I mentioned earlier, the first ballads of Robin give no mention of a girl in his unstable life, but in 1280 someone wrote a French romance that used the names of Robin and Marian. Once Marian showed up, she definitely stuck around, making the tale just a little more interesting and far more romantic. Another character that stuck around was Friar Tuck. A friar is a special kind of monk. Friar Tuck was first introduced in a play in 1475. His character was probably based on a real-life priest named Robert Stratford. Originally, Friar Tuck was described as serious and devout. Over time, though, Friar Tuck became a jolly but irresponsible fellow. Sadly enough, his character may have rightly reflected the lazy way that some of the friars lived in the early Renaissance, just before the Reformation. In the 1800s, the story of Robin Hood came to a real peak through the brilliant authorship of Sir Walter Scott. He wrote the historical fiction named Ivanhoe. In this masterpiece of literature, Robin Hood, called Robert of Locksley in the story, teams up with others to help Richard the Lionhearted defeat his rival brother John. It is from Scott's description of Locksley that we have our more modern portrait of Robin Hood. Personally, what I find more interesting is how the tales of Robin Hood spread to North America after the founding of the United States. For example, in recent years, Americans have enjoyed making comedy of the plot of Robin Hood. Opera writers, cartoon makers, and full-scale film directors have all run with the story to make us laugh. Perhaps you've seen Disney's version of Robin Hood that uses a fox to portray Robin, and has many other animated creatures. To my own delight, even Warner Brothers' Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny have acted out Robin Hood. And in just the last 15 years, someone added a whole new character to the story that seems to keep reappearing under slightly different names. The character is that of a Muslim friend to Robin. He is called Nasser Azim, or even Sneeze in a comedy. A sneeze. Oh yeah, I remember that. From this new character, we can see firsthand how stories change with time, and that's exactly what has happened with Robin Hood. Above it all, I think the story of Robin Hood simply changes to meet the need we all seem to have for a hero. He seems to represent the good spirit of all of us that hopes to right that which is wrong, and that is what makes Robin Hood a classic tale. So there you go. Sounds like most of it we have no idea what's real or not. Okay, so let's look at pretest number 21. And we're going to look at number 4 and number 5. Okay? So number 4 says, the character of Robin Hood is based on the real-life outlaw named Robert, Earl of Huntingdon. Okay, that's the answer for number 4. And number 5 is, in 1280, a French romantic added blank to the tales of Robin Hood to make it more interesting. So number 5's answer is Maid Marian. All right. Those are the only 2 on that one. Be sure to answer any other ones from Monday that you may not have answered yet from your lesson Monday in school. And I hope you guys have a great week and that you enjoyed listening a little bit about Robin Hood. And that it's mostly a fictional story, but probably does have some truth to it from the time. So anyway, have a good week. I will see you for Bible, or I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.